Okay, so I'm pretty honest with people, pretty honest in general, and that's gotten me into quite a bit of trouble before. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, welcome back to the diary. So yes, personal traits getting you into a lot of trouble. Which one has gotten you into the most trouble? But my honesty gets me into pretty big amounts of trouble near on every single day. Because for the most part, I'm too honest. I don't think about feelings and I don't think about how it's gonna come across. That with the autism and everything, I don't know how it's going to come across. I expect it to come across in one way, and it's taken really badly and really not how I wanted it to be taken at all. So, to be honest is probably one of the best traits in general, but to be so honest that people get offended, get upset, or anything like that, is really troublesome, and it's really hard to work around. And it's even harder with autism, because the autism stops that thought process in the head that says, you don't want to be saying that, that's rude, it's upsetting. So it's really hard to find the right words for things, and it's really hard to not upset people with things you say. Sorry, I am still ill. But no, it's really hard to find the right way of saying things, and it's really hard not to upset people while being honest. But that's the problem. It's not just autism that does this. It's also the current generation, or that the millennium kind of group of people, because I'm not going to say every single one of them because it's not true for everyone, but a lot of kids from that millennium era haven't really grown up hearing no or hearing anything that could be seen as offensive, because we've taken words like black and replaced them with colour, and it's like, well, hang on a minute. It's like with the Baba Black Sheep nursery rhyme, it's no longer Baba Black Sheep, it's Baba Rainbow Sheep. It's like, I can understand where people are coming from with changing things like that, but Rainbow Sheep doesn't fit. If you're going to change it for something more politically correct, at least keep it in keeping with the rhyme itself. Make sure it still fits, because it's hard work to sing Baba Rainbow Sheep to the tune that everyone remembers. It's my generation and one generation just before that will be singing that nursery rhyme to kids. And if you're taking the black away from it for rainbow instead, it's like Baba Rainbow Sheep. Hang on a minute. You have to say it quickly. You can't just sing it neatly to the tune. But like I said, it's completely understandable where it's coming from and why, but it's just the fact that a lot of people are being offended a bit too quickly. Now, the N-word, I'm obviously not going to use it because I'm trying not to use too much swearing or too much controversial words, and I'm certainly not going to use the N-word. But it's that argument, is that it's that argument, it's that idea that no one should be using the N-word. Yet we see a lot of black people use it, a lot of black people use it in their music. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. you use it. I get why you use it, but in that context, isn't it just a word? It is, at the end of the day, just a word. And it's the only reason why certain words have become offensive is because we find them offensive. As people, we find them offensive. And it's okay to be offended by things. It's not like I'm turning around saying you should never be offended by the N-word. If you're offended by the N-word, you're offended by the N-word. And that's okay. It's okay to be offended by it. But it's the collective behaviour that comes with that being offended by it. If too many people act like they're wrapped up in cotton wool or bubble wrap so that they don't hear these offensive words, so they don't get upset, then we end up having a generation of people that have essentially and metaphorically don't have a backbone because they haven't come across words like that. They haven't come across moments like that. They then don't know how to deal with that offended emotions. That's why I'm saying it's okay to be offended. But it's the dealing with that being offended with anger, hate, and violence that's not right. I mean, yes, okay, it's okay to deal with that being offended feeling with anger, but you don't want to start fights. You don't want to be picking fights with people just because you're angry. It's really hard to explain it because every time I talk about something like this, some people get it differently to the way I'm trying to say. I'm not out there going, you should not be angry at hearing the N-word. If you're angry at hearing the N-word, you're angry. It's a natural reaction. It's okay. But seeing some black people go from hearing that N-word from a white person to stabbing that white person, that's what's not right. It's that we need to kind of help teach out, sort of thing, which is why I think that even though we shouldn't be using words like that because it is highly offensive, we need to still condition and we need to warn and we need to sort out people so that their behaviours are not going from, oh my god, you said the N-word, stab. It's going from, oh my god, you said the N-word. I'm really offended by that, by the way. I don't like you using that word. I'm aware that I use it. However, I use it for this, and this reason. If you've gotten any kind of explanation as to why you use it, I'll be happy to hear it. But otherwise, I'd rather you did not use that word in my presence, thank you. It's that kind of behaviour that I think we should be encouraging more often. That whole, I know I use this word, but to be honest with you, I don't like the idea of you using it. Please don't use it in my presence. That's all you need. That's all you need to do. You don't need to stand there and be aggressive about it. You don't need to be all like, oh my god, you use the N-word, blah, and getting all angry and having that moment of physically or even I was going to say emotionally, but it's probably not the right words. But you don't want to go physically attacking that person just because they said a word you don't like in your presence. I mean, for the most part, most people will say, if you don't like to hear the word, don't use it. Don't use it yourself. If you don't like people saying that word in your presence, don't use it. Which is why a lot of white people these days are backlashing or arguing with black people or people of colour because of the N-word. It's like, but hang on a minute, you use it in your music, why is it okay for you guys to use it but not us? And because we don't have any black people that are willing to stand up and go, we use it because of this, and this. We feel this, and this when we use it in our social group. Because we don't really have that. We still see the whole, oh, they're just being selfish. They're not letting us share in their culture. I mean, me personally, I don't use the N-word in an offensive way. I don't use it to be derogatory. I use it... The only time I will use it is if I know the people of colour or the black people who are in my company don't mind me using it, and I only use it as explanation, or if someone of colour or someone who is black has said it, I'm saying it because they said it. It's part of the story that I'm telling you. I'm not saying it to be horrible to you, I'm saying it because it's in the story. And I even start, before I say the story, what are your thoughts on the N-word? I mean, I don't have to use it if you don't like the idea of me using it, that's totally fine. But it is in my story. Do you have any problems with that sort of thing? And if they say yeah, I just be like, well, if you don't mind me still telling the story, this happened, and she used the N-word at me. And it was like, it would be like that, but I'm always conscious of that word, and always conscious of using it in front of people of colour, because I don't want them to feel like I'm just going, you're my slave. Which is what I perceive and believe that black people or people of colour are feeling and believing when they hear a white person say the N-word. I feel they think that we're just making fun of history and we're just trying to bring back slavery and all sorts by using the N-word. And for the most part, we're not. I mean, yes, you get some butt faces out there who are genuinely nasty and think that dark-skinned people should be slaves again. But for the most part, people have grown up. People have understood that, yeah, you've got different coloured skin to me. Are you any less? It's like, if you look at all the sports people and all of the rappers and anyone else, I mean, even Barack Obama, for example, if dark-skinned people or people of colour can do things like that, what makes them any different to us, sort of thing? Just because we're white doesn't mean to say we should have a leg up in anything. Which is why when I see videos of people, this has kind of come out mainly, I mean, me jabbering on about the N-word in particular, has come out because there's a video online of somebody sticking up for a couple of black or coloured teenagers who were being racially profiled and picked on by the police at the time. Now, my mum was telling me a whole load of different stories about white people and people of colour or black people. And the altercations they have, sometimes the black people aren't doing anything wrong. Sometimes it looks like the black people are doing something wrong, but it's been misconstrued because we, as society, and a lot of the time, white-skinned people have grown to believe that they are better than anyone else, that they are the top race, that they are the people in charge, that they will always have that not priority, but anyone in the comments will know, anyone watching will know. Privilege, that was it. white people will always have that privilege over anyone else. So, and it's that we need to kind of stop, sort of thing. We need to kind of stop children believing that because they're white, they're better, because they have darker skin, they're not going to get very far, because they're darker skin, they're going to have to work 10 times harder. We need to praise and encourage the work of darker skinned children without that extra work, because them having to do extra work to get noticed makes everyone else feel like they can laze about, do nothing, and get really high. Not high as in weed high, but high as in life. They can get to the top job in the world just because they're flunking class or misbehaving or just doing nothing. But I believe we need to see more white people sticking up for dark-skinned people and black people. Purely because I'm a big believer in hatred and isolation. So if you're pushing someone out of your social group, will cause more bad behaviour and will cause more anger and stress to fly out towards you. If you take the actual proper Muslim religion, for example, the proper Muslim religion, not ISIS, not the way ISIS looks at it, but if you talk to a proper Muslim within your town, city, wherever you are, and ask them about their religion, they will say nowhere in the Quran does it say about attacking people like ISIS does. Nowhere in the Quran does it say anything about wars or fighting being allowed, in the sense of there is no actual genuine bona fide by Allah reason for you to go out fighting. There is no way you can justify in the eyes of Allah to go and fight or to have a war with somebody, because the Quran is built on love, peace and friendship, kindness, all sorts like that. Yet we have groups like ISIS, yet we have groups of Muslims kicking back, and I believe it's mainly because of the repression that they're having at the moment, and all of the hate and the anger that a lot of people are throwing their way. So when groups like ISIS come up and they go, hey, we're the good guys, we're the good part of it. All you young Muslim men, America hates you, or white people hate you, the Western world hates you because you're dangerous, or you're this, that and the other. Come join us and teach them a lesson. Yeah, that's going to look very promising and very enticing to anyone who is in the middle of countries going, no, you're dangerous, we don't trust you, go away, shoot, we don't trust you, no. And it's that I believe we need to stop. We need to stop the whole, we don't trust you. I mean, it's okay not to trust someone, it's okay not to trust a group of people. But what's not okay is to not give that person or that group of people a chance to prove you wrong. So just because you have a fear that the next 9/11 is going to happen, or when the next attack's going to happen, doesn't mean say you can put that onto a certain group. I mean, it's really hard to say. I know it's easy for us to turn around and go, oh yeah, it was them. hate all of those people because it was them. It's easy for us to point the finger of blame. But we need to turn around and be like, maybe it was you guys, but we're going to give you a chance. Because, to be honest with you, you personally didn't do anything. So if you personally can show me that you and your select little group are all cool and all good, then we're good. Anyone that's part of that group, that bad little group over there, can go shoot. Can go bye-bye. Because that group is the group that's doing all the wrong and that's misbehaving. So treat the naughty people, treat the bad people as they deserve. And don't put the nicer people into the same group as the bad people just because they've got one thing in common. One final little thing, it's the same sort of thing with Christianity. A lot of people turn around and say Christianity is bad. Christianity is unloving, uncaring, it's not open, and everything like that. All because of churches like Westboro. Westboro Baptist Church is the worst of Christianity. It is the worst of the worst. Let me tell you a little bit something about Westboro Baptist Church, if you don't know it. They cherry pick bits of the Bible, and they change a lot of the wordings. A lot of their signs, if you actually go to that Bible verse, some of the words are a bit different. Funny also how they don't include God made man in his own image. Not only that, but there is also something about God making each one of us and God making a plan for each one of us. So, by that ruling, if you're gay, you're just born that way. It's not something that you're grown into, it's not something you can change later. It's something that is about you. It's you. And just because you have feelings like that and you want to go out and deal with those feelings doesn't mean to say you need to be pushed out. You need to be pushed aside. You can see where it's kind of connecting in. It's just because we have a go at someone for something doesn't mean to say that it's their fault. We need to kind of stop having a go at people for things that they can't help. Yes, we need to slap the wrists of terrorists, and we need to make sure that those terrorists are being punished for the things they do. But just because a group of terrorists has taken a young teenager in under their wing and trained them to be that way, do we need to fully punish that teenager? We need to find out why that teenager's gone, and if it's genuinely by their own choice because they had seen all that stuff and they feel really angry and everything and they want to join, it's a bit different. But we need to work out why they're angry, we need to look at why they're angry, and we need to help keep that anger away for future teenagers that are being brought in to those groups. But it's also if any teenagers have been kidnapped. We can't punish someone for being kidnapped. It's not fair. If you're kidnapped and brainwashed, how can you punish someone for being brainwashed? It's like in the Harry Potter series. The Harry Potter series, during the wars and at the end of the wars when everything was over, anyone that was under the Imperius curse, so basically anyone that was being controlled by someone else, was set free because they did not do anything of their own accord. They did not have their own proper choice. And it's the proper choice that we need to keep supporting and looking after, because giving people proper choice, I reckon that if we had plenty of love, plenty of care, plenty of trust for minority groups, a lot of them will calm down. A lot of them will not turn around and start fights or start being aggressive, because a lot of them respect proper culture. A lot of them respect the chance they've been given. A lot of people are only here in the UK or America to start again, because their lives back home are worthless. Their lives back home don't have as much meaning as it would here. There's not as many opportunities there for them as there are here. So they wouldn't end up destroying anything, because they are so grateful for country leaders to turn around and say, yeah, okay, we're giving you a chance, be here, just do as you're told, sort of thing. Then mostly they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do as told, we'll obey country laws, sort of thing. It's like if we as white people go over to one of their countries and we start doing the sort of things that they do here, we'd be locked up in their prisons like that, and we probably wouldn't be able to get out at all, because a lot of the time, for a small crime that we see in our countries as minor, like a bit of theft, they see as major, and we'd be locked up in there for pretty much the rest of our lives, or until somebody paid money to get us out. If you see what I mean, you see what I mean. But no major offence to anyone meant during this. It's just the whole, here is the problems that I see, this is what I think we need to do to fix it. While I believe that words like the N-word should be taken out of things and we shouldn't be using them, we need to make sure that everyone remembers that not every single white person is using the N-word as derogatory meanings. We're not all using it to be nasty. Some of us are just using it to either join in the culture or to understand the culture better, because with better understanding of culture comes less nastiness, comes less derogatory feelings, comes less anger and hate. So I think we need to encourage more learning of culture. But no, it's getting really long and I need to cut stuff out. So that's it for me today, guys. Remember, any meaning, any kind of offence is not meant. If you are offended by it, then that's okay, and I'm sorry about that. But it's not meant to be hurtful, so please remember that yourselves. But no, the question was, is there any personal trait about you that's got you into a lot of trouble? But no, that's it for me today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. See ya. Put a little bit of shit, put a little bit of shit, put a little bit of shit, get a little bit of gasoline. Welcome to another crime scene. Get a little bit of gasoline. Welcome to another